Hey, if you require resources, did you know the plenty season in the Scarlet Forest is one of the best places you can go? Not only is it teeming with bugs and plants, but if you come over here, these rocks are covered in honeycomb. It's a great place to get all the resources you need for some consumables. Equip a modest gathering set and spend some time here. In the process, you might obtain some items you can trade to villagers for food items so you can fill your belly with a proper meal. You might also come across a monster with some parts you need. Monster Hunter Wilds is an immersive and cohesive ecosystem not just in the flora and fauna of its world, but also in the way its mechanical systems blend together to create a gameplay experience that harkens back to a time long past. A while back I made a video called Wilds was made for old gen fans, after the first beta came out. Today I'm going to revisit that idea and see just how on track I was in ways I couldn't have ever even imagined. Before we get into it, I just want to do the obligatory reminder to like the video and comment if you enjoy it, and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this from me. I also have a playlist of my other videos you may enjoy, so go check that out. Let's go. Monster Hunter 2 DOS was a game trapped in a time it didn't belong in, stuck on ancient hardware that was unable to fully realize its grand ambitions of an immersive representation of a hunter's life and the world they inhabit. After DOS, the series made a hard pivot in its design, taking more after the portable titles and tossing aside or streamlining much of what made DOS and its predecessors unique. Imagine my surprise when I booted up Wilds and found a familiarity I thought would always be lost. It would appear Wilds is the resurrection of DOS's design philosophies, dredged up from the ashes and given new life. Nowhere is this more abundantly clear than the cooking system. Wild's cooking system is really something to behold, because it's actually, in some ways, harder to get a meal than in DOS. In my time with the game so far, I've frequently just ate a well-done steak, because I either didn't have enough ingredients to cook with, or didn't want to waste the few ingredients I did have on an easy hunt. Even in DOS, you are very quickly able to obtain at least some basic ingredients to cook meals. In fact, a lot of stuff can be easily bought from vendors. Wild seems to shy away from just letting you buy things off vendors, and instead has a system of trading with villagers you've done quests for. Even when you can trade for something, they only trade in limited amounts. Scarcity of resources is a running theme in Wilds. Even when you eventually unlock access to the support chip, the stuff it sells is limited. This is a complete reversion from previous games where resources were extremely abundant, from powerful farm mechanics, free items, and unlimited access to vendors. In Wilds, abundance feels earned. You've spent time being poor and scrounging for resources, and eventually make inroads with the local villages to help you procure useful items in fair exchanges. Resource scarcity extends not just to the cooking system, but items in general. Wilds is the first game I've ever actually ran out of honey in. It's also one of the few games where I feel encouraged to go on gathering runs for a variety of items. It's also the first game I've made an actual gathering set just from how lucrative it is. They've even made gathering really fun with the slinger. It's never been more enjoyable to gather. Just hop on your sacred and grab everything in sight as you go through the map. I think resource scarcity in Wilds in comparison to old games is actually twofold. There is the case of items just being a bit harder to come by on average sometimes, but the demand of the combat also plays a role. Taking DOS again as an example, the monsters in that game frankly don't put up much of a fight. Even a small amount of items for healing and consumables can take you quite far because the game doesn't ask much of you. In Wilds, though, the monsters are significantly more dangerous. Not only do they require me to use much more healing per quest, but I also feel encouraged to use my other consumable items more frequently. These two things paired together creates a gameplay experience that feels like you're truly struggling to provide for yourself at times, and any help you get from the villagers or supply ship is welcome and exciting. This also sort of intertwines with the cooking system in some ways. If I'm not able or unwilling to eat a good meal buff, then I feel encouraged to supplement with some consumable items like demon drugs, armor skins, immunizers, and so on. We can mention the farming system as well. You unlock it fairly late, and it's pretty weak compared to a lot of past farming mechanics. And again, it feels earned. Having helped the villages and NPCs in the story and with side missions, they'll aid you with some additional items. With these mechanics, the biggest advantage Wilds has over previous games in the series is that your hunter feels like a real character that exists in the world and impacts the world around them. Every mechanic feels interwoven with the story and other characters in the game. While some games in the past have tried this, none have succeeded so thoroughly as Wilds has. The general vibe of Wilds is one of interconnectedness, shared struggle, and appreciation for the world around you. The way this is expressed through actual game mechanics is genuinely a marvel of game design. Speaking of other marvels, Wilds' world design is also something to behold. Those could only dream of the vast environmental changes that happen as a result of seasons and time of day. As someone who actually loved guiding lands in World, I feel like Wilds is a paradise. Getting into high rank and being able to just run around the world fighting whatever spawns, but layered with an environmental cycle on top, is an incredible experience. Like I mentioned at the beginning, resource collection is heavily influenced by the time of the region, and as we already covered, resource collection is very important in this game. Sometimes a villager wants something you can't get right now, and the trade will be gone by the time you're able to get it. I've never been so easily distracted in a game. I log into the game with the intention of farming a particular monster, but then, oh, this other monster with good bonus rewards just spawned. And, oh, the plenty season is up, or, oh wait, there's an upsurge in this region? I gotta get on that too. Now several hours have passed, and I haven't worked toward my original goal at all. But that's what being a hunter is all about, right? Wilds has managed to create the ultimate hunting life simulator. Just the other day, I sat around waiting for it to be nighttime so I could pick up 2 Nightbloom pollen so I could trade for a gold melding ticket. I mean it so genuinely that this is the game I've always dreamed of for Monster Hunter. For a very long time, Monster Hunter de-emphasized the gathering and lifestyle aspects of the series in favor of turning it into more of an action-oriented game. Now with Wilds, they've satisfied both sides. The monsters and combat are excellent, some of the best work they've done in that department, but we also have a strong presence for the more laid-back aspects, taking the time to go literally smell and pick the roses, maybe catch some fish or look for endemic life. When talking about the world of Wilds, the NPCs cannot be overlooked. The people that live in the area are just as much a part of the ecosystem as the monsters and the plant life. You can spend a lot of time just watching people in the villages, seeing people wander around and go about their day. Sometimes you can find them outside the village too, doing various activities. Did you know you can even see the fire festival happen too? It wasn't just part of the story. They'll continue to do it during the fire spring, and you can watch the whole process. During the night, NPCs will go into their house, and this even impacts gameplay. If you need to talk to an NPC but they're asleep or not around, you'll need to wait until they're available. In these ways, Wilds feels a lot more like an RPG. They've put a lot of time into making the world feel lived in a believable way. This applies to monsters too. There was a bit of this in World, so it's not 100% unique to Wilds, but they've kicked it up a notch here. You can go watch the whole ecosystem play out its cycle in real time, including small and large monsters doing what they do. Fighting each other, hunting, eating, sleeping, moving in herds, and so on. It's a legitimate gameplay style to just put on your binoculars and watch stuff happen around you. On more general things that add to the vibe of Wilds, Rathalos has finally gotten the respect he deserves after so long. Not only is he mechanically in one of his absolute best forms of all time, but he got his own theme music finally. It's a theme that plays homage to a number of Gen 1 and 2 songs. It's nice to see Rathalos back at the top where he belongs. The return of a lot of other classic monsters we haven't seen in a while is great too. We got Blanganga, Congalala, Gypceros, Gravios, along with all their great weapon and armor designs. They even made some of their gear genuinely good, which I think is funny. Gypceros' weapons are pretty strong, which is a change from how they used to be. Coming from beta feedback, they increased the hit stop, and I was not expecting just how drastically they were going to crank it. It feels very similar to hit stop from some of the older games. Go smack a group of small monsters and watch your sword get stuck in the air for several seconds. It's great. I'm going to talk about the story now, and I assume most people have finished it, but spoiler warning just in case. Probably the most shocking and one of the most appreciated aspects of Wilds to me is the lore. They actually brought back the ancient civilization. The ancient civilization hasn't been touched on in any meaningful capacity since 2nd Gen, and now they've brought it to the forefront of the whole game. The ancient civilization was an integral part of the world building of 1st and 2nd Gen, but was mostly cast aside after that. But now in Wilds, we've gotten to actually visit the desiccated remains of their grand empire and meet their descendants. We've learned about their technology and history, and about their downfall. They actually made the equal dragon weapon canon. Zoshia is literally the equal dragon weapon recontextualized within this new lore of the Guardians and artificially created monsters. I'm beside myself with excitement. Zoshia uses Fatalis attacks. They literally grafted Fatalises together to create the ultimate weapon and brought about their own downfall, as was written in the lore so long ago. This kind of stuff is why I say Wilds was truly made for people like us. Wild's story is neat and interesting even if you know nothing about the series, but for those of us who love the lore from the old days and the vibes and feeling of the mechanics, Wilds is the perfect package. They brought it all back and even improved on it. There is an interesting parallel to Dose. Through questing in Dose, you uncover the way to the ancient tower, explore it, and learn more about the ancient civilization, which we now know of as Wyveria, and eventually learn how to summon and defeat White Fatalis. Wilds largely mirrors this, albeit with a lot more pomp and circumstance and more in-depth exploration of the lore itself. This likely isn't intentional, but I do think it's an interesting thing to point out. In terms of other story stuff, I really enjoyed the whole thing. Wilds is the first game to have a proper story at all that isn't just a device for putting monsters in front of you. Despite what you would expect from Monster Hunter, the story of Wilds isn't about monsters or hunting at all. It's a story about people, cultures, and history. A lot of the monsters you fight are incidental or just part of the hunter's work. It's also a valuable look at what it really means to be a hunter. Hunters aren't just barbarians that go around slaying monsters. They're protectors of ecosystems and people. They're incredibly skilled and knowledgeable about many topics, and they have to make quick choices in heated moments that can have consequences for the world around them. All the characters you traveled with and met were fun and interesting, I think. At the end of it all, I felt like I had been on a grand journey. It was a really memorable and meaningful experience. It also leaves many questions open for the future, but we'll touch on that another time. I have incredibly few complaints in Wilds. As someone who was extremely critical of 5th Gen, both World and Rise, I never thought I would be in this position of essentially uncritically praising a new Monhun game. I assumed 5th Gen was how the games would be designed from now on. Even the complaints I have amount to nitpicks, like the monsters could use a bit more HP, and the wound mechanic is a bit unbalanced. These are trivial concerns in the grand scheme, and easily fixable in patches, title updates, and expansions, and largely don't impact my enjoyment of the game overall. It's mind-blowing to look at Wilds and see a game I previously could have only dreamed of given form. And it can't be overstated that this appears to have paid dividends for Capcom. Wilds is apparently the fastest selling Capcom game of all time, with 8 million units sold at launch. That's incredible. I've also seen tons of praise for the new mechanics from both old and new players. I've been watching many streams of new players trying the game and having a blast, and that makes me happy to see. I had faith that if they were to ever make another Dose-style game, that it would pay off, and I'm so glad that I was right. I have no idea what the future holds for the series from here on out, but I hope that Wilds has a positive impact on the design of the series going forward. Imagine getting a Wilds-style game, but with underwater combat back in the mix. There are yet higher peaks for the series to climb. Wilds builds off the successes of World and brings the old ideas that never got their chance to shine to a whole new audience in a way that lets them succeed to a degree that would have been previously impossible. For me, Wilds is fiercely competing as my favorite Monhun game, and maybe even my favorite game of all time. I can't wait to put many hundreds of hours into this game as we get the title updates and expansion in the future. That's all for me for now. See ya.